Okay, we're going to continue on in the Apocrypha. This is the Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 37, verse 25. A man's life is numbered by days, but the days of Israel are unnumbered. The wise man will attain the trust of his people, and his name will live forever. My child, test your soul while you live, and see what hurts it, and do not give in to that. For not everything is good for everyone, and not everybody enjoys everything. Do not be insatiable about any luxury, and do not be carried away with food. For sickness comes with excessive eating, and greediness leads to severe illness. Many have died of greediness, but the man who guards against it prolongs his life. Show the physician due honor in view of your need of him, for the Lord has created him. Healing comes from the Most High, and he will receive presents from the King. The skill of the physician exalts him, and he is admired among the great. The Lord has created medicines out of the earth, and a sensible man will not refuse them. Was not water made sweet by wood, so that its strength might be shown? And he has given men knowledge, so that he might be glorified for his wonderful works. With them he cures and takes away pain. The druggist makes mixtures of them. His works will never end, and from him peace spreads over the face of the earth. My child, do not be negligent when you are sick, but pray to the Lord, and he will cure you. Renounce wrongdoing and make your hands do right, and cleanse your heart from every sin. Offer a fragrant offering and a memorial sacrifice of fine flour, and make your offering rich as though you were no longer to live. And leave room for the physician, for the Lord has created him. He must not desert you, for you need him. There is a time when your welfare depends upon them, for they too will pray to the Lord to guide them to bringing relief and effecting a cure and restoration to health. For as the man who sins in the sight of his Maker, may he fall into the hands of the physician. My child, for the dead, let your tears fall, and like one who is suffering terribly, begin your lament. Wrap his body up fittingly, and do not neglect his burial. Weep bitterly and wail passionately, and show your grief as he may deserve, for one day or perhaps two, to avert criticism. Then be comforted for your sorrow. For death comes of sorrow, and sorrow of heart prostrates one's strength. In misfortune, grief will continue, and the life of the poor saddens the heart. But do not resign your heart to grief. Dismiss it, but remember your end. Do not forget it, for he will not come back. You cannot help him, and you will harm yourself. Remember my judgment, for yours will be like it. Mine today, yours tomorrow. When the dead is at rest, let his memory rest, and be comforted for him when his spirit departs. A scribe attains wisdom through the opportunities of leisure, and the man who has little business to do can become wise. How can the man who holds a plow become wise, who glories in handling the ox goad, who drives the oxen and guides them at their work, and whose discourse is with the sons of bulls? He sets his mind on turning his furrows, and his anxiety is about fodder for heifers. It is so with every craftsman and builder who keeps at work at night as well as by day. Some cut carved seals and elaborate variety of design. Another puts his mind on painting a likeness and is anxious to complete his work. It is so with the smith sitting by his anvil, an expert in working in iron. The smoke of the fire reduces his flesh, and he exerts himself in the heat of the furnace. He bends his ear to the sound of the hammer, and his eyes are on the pattern of the implement. He puts his mind on completing his work, and he is anxious to finish preparing it. It is so with the potter as he sits at his work and turns the wheel with his foot. He is constantly careful about his work, and all his manufacture is by measure. He will shape the clay with his arm and bend its strength with his feet. He puts his mind on finishing the glazing, and he is anxious to make his furnace clean. All these rely on their hands, and each one is skillful in his own work. Without them, no city can be inhabited, and men will not live in one or go about in it. But they are not sought for to advise the people. And in the public assembly, they do not excel. They do not sit on the judge's seat, and they do not think about the decision of lawsuits. They do not utter instruction or judgment, and they are not found using proverbs. Yet they support the fabric of the world, and their prayer is in the practice of their trade. It is not so with a man who applies himself and studies the law of the Most High. He searches out the wisdom of all the ancients and busies himself with prophecies. He observes the discourse of famous men and penetrates the intricacies of figures. He searches out the hidden meanings of proverbs and acquaints himself with the obscurities of figures. He will serve among great men and appear before rulers. He will travel through the land of strange peoples and test what is good and what is evil among men. He will devote himself to going early to the Lord his Maker, and will make his entreaty before the Most High. He will open his mouth in prayer and make entreaty for his sins. If the great Lord pleases, he will be filled with the spirit of understanding. He will pour out his wise sayings and give thanks to the Lord in prayer. He will direct his counsel and knowledge and study his secrets. He will reveal instruction in his teaching and will glory in the law of the Lord's agreement. Many will praise